quickly show you how to make the cool marbled background textures that I mentioned in the last video. I wanted to quickly kind of show you how I did that. So we want to make stripes of interlaced colors, just a couple of different colors and a bunch of lines. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the liquefy tool to warp those shapes to create kind of this marbled texture. So let's create kind of our various lines of color. So the easiest thing to do would do the rectangle tool. And we're just going to do the rectangle tool. What's great about the rectangle tool is I can go up here, I can add a stroke, but I'm going to make the stroke null, which means we're going to eliminate the stroke. And then the fill, we can change this at any time. We can also change it down here in our appearance panel. Anytime we use the rectangle tool or any of these shapes, they're going to be easily changed. And to be able to make duplicate lines pretty quickly, we can just hold down Option, click our object and drag, then release, hold down Option, click and drag. And so we can create a lot of these different bars. And we can of course go over here and change the color. So what we want to do is we want to, let's say I want to select all of these and liquefy them. If I were to go up to Filter, you'll notice it's all grayed out. You're like, oh, why is it all grayed out? I wanted to be able to use some of these filters. So I'm going to select the very top one up here. I'm going to hold down the Shift button and click the last layer. And what that does when I hold down the Shift button, it's going to select all of them. And we're going to do that several times throughout the course and projects. We're going to be selecting layers, and you'll get really used to being able to select multiple layers. What I want to do is right click, and I want to convert to Smart Object. So I'm going to convert to Smart Object. What it's going to do is it's going to make it all one layer. So now it's one big layer, and it's going to give me a chance to go up to Filter, and then all of a sudden all these things are now available. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Liquefy, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the monkey, but in this case we're going to really do this twisting option here. We're going to really manipulate this quite a bit. So the twirl clockwise tool, we're going to make it pretty big. We can kind of manipulate and warp this, and we can make it smaller. You can go in and get some interesting, cool effects. Forward warp tool is something that you see used in a lot of these marbled textures. We're going to reduce the size. You can go like this, kind of create everything. It's going to push everything forward, being the forward warp tool right up here at the top. You can make it bigger, more dramatic. I mean, this is really, you can kind of draw it almost like you're taking a paintbrush and just going through mixed paint and painting it. And the more you do it, the more interesting the texture becomes. And let's go back and do some twisting. Kind of bring out your inner artist. So now I can click on OK. And we can add a color here. And if you don't like this color, that's okay. We can always go up to Image, Adjustments. We can go to Hue Saturation. We can change this color. We don't like hot pink or anything, so let's change it. Just reducing the hue or changing the hue. And then I can add like a background. So I'm just double clicking right here on this layer. I'm just going to double click right here in this kind of empty space. I'm going to bring up this Layer Styles panel, and I'm just going to do a quick color overlay just to quickly change the color. I'm going to sample a nearby color and then, maybe make it a little bit darker. So you can see I made this using the same method, this texture that you see here for a brand campaign. I did the same exact method. Of course, this one came out a little bit better because I spent, another 20-30 minutes kind of perfecting it, but kind of similar method. You could just use that liquefy tool to make a really cool wide array of patterns just by using solid blocks of lines. We're going to continue using the liquefy tool, but this time we're going to use one with a face. So we can use some of Photoshop's amazing algorithms that help to change the face for us automatically. So I went ahead and got this one from Pexels.com, but you can download any face that has a nice clear front-facing face. So I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to drag that right into Photoshop. I'm going to go ahead and double click my layers, unlock that layer. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to Filter and Liquify. And now, instead of the face aware liquify being grayed out, now that it detects a human face, it's going to give us all these options. So if there's multiple faces in a document, in this case we only have one, you'll be able to select different faces. So if you have a group of 4 women or 4 men or a mix of both, you can select different faces to modify it. So this is going to be how you modify the eyes. So the left is going to be the left eye, and the right 4 options are going to be the right eye. So if I wanted to increase the size of the left eye and decrease the size of the right eye, I can. So you can make all sorts of crazy faces and alien creatures and all sorts of things. So I'm going to go back to 0. Let's say I want to change them at the same time because I really don't want it to be too dramatic. I can lock it right here by clicking this little link icon. I'm going to lock it. So now when I move these, they'll move together. But it's not locked automatically, so you're going to make sure you lock them if you want them to move together. So let's say we want to make really big eyes. We can lock the eye height, change the eye height, and there's also width. So lock it, and we're going to lock all these. And then we can even tilt the eyes. So we can tilt them in or tilt them out. And then eye distance. So if you want to have those eyes slightly apart, you can. And nose height. So this will change a lot of the face. When you bring the nose down, it makes the face feel very long. When you have the nose higher, it makes it just feel much higher. So let's have a nice long nose. We can reduce the width of the nose. I'm just making him really crazy looking. So a smile, we can give him a smile. Isn't that amazing? You could just give someone a smile. You don't have to use the liquify tool over here manually anymore. And that's what we had to do a few years ago. We had to manually add all this stuff. And now it automatically detects it using this face aware liquify tool. So it just saves us so much time. You're going to see more and more of this out of Adobe as they do more of this automatic kind of stuff. Maybe change kind of where the lip lies. Ooh, we can give him a puffy lower lip. Make it really wide. He's starting to get really funny now. Look at that. So we could change the forehead, make it wider, chin height, make it longer. Let's give him a nice long face. We can even make him really skinny or really kind of bigger. Let's make him real skinny. And face width. And maybe let's back off the lip just a little bit. I'm just going to go back to lips, bring that in. So there's definitely some more intermediate and advanced option below. Maybe future lessons I can talk about some of this more advanced stuff about masking, but we're not going to touch on that. I just wanted to kind of show you the basics of how this works. So you can click on OK down here, and of course you can toggle preview off. You can see before, after. Obviously he looks a lot more handsome before, but we're just kind of messing with the tool. Go ahead and click OK, and we have that loaded.